Well, we've all heard the phrase, they don't make them like they used to. Kylie says it to me every morning. But it turns out what's old really is kind of all new again as retro designs and concepts are being revived and revolutionised.
Now, from classic compact discs and disposable camera apps, we get to the bottom of why vintage relics are making a comeback. Futurist and author Michael McQueen is here to tell us more about this. This is so fun. Turns out CD sales have risen for the first time. Risen for the first time in almost 2 decades.
Yeah,
Why?
So in 2020, there were 31 million CDs sold in America, which is amazing in itself. That jumped to 46 million last year. So we've seen a massive bump in CD sales. And it's sort of like the whole vinyl record thing, like this desire to make music a tangible experience again. So it's that hark back to the olden days. Not super practical, though, because, I mean, sales of Discmans haven't gone up either, because you're not going to go jogging with a CD. So listening at home, in the car maybe, but yeah, certainly it is that hark back to the days of nostalgia.
Does this mean our old dusty collections could actually be worth some big bucks?
They really could, if they're not scratched in good condition. I mean, but records are as well for the same reason. So yeah, they could become collector items.
Wow.
I'm going through mine. Disposable cameras, of course, huge in the 80s and 90s. Precious moments captured, followed by the agonising wait, you know, to get them developed. You go down to the chemist, are my photos back? No, there's been a delay. There's an app now that recreates the feeling. What's this app all about?
Yeah, so we used them because we had no option but to use disposable cameras. We've got a whole lot of young people using it by choice now in an app called Dyspo. So Dyspo actually is this app you can use to take a photo, very simple features, so simple flash, simple zoom, and it creates grainy images that get this you cannot see until the next day. They get developed 9 a.m. the next morning.
I couldn't live.
Like fake developed.
Fake developed. But the idea is that they want to encourage young people to be in the moment and not have such a carefully curated version of life. So moving away from this hyper, you know, over the top, polished Instagram view of life. So you guys are talking about Be Real, that app earlier in the week, I believe. Like that's sort of this culture shift back to being hyper authentic online that a lot of young people are craving. Right.
But if we're not in the moment, how do we know if the lighting's not right so we have to do it again in that moment?
And that's the idea. So they want to encourage people to take the photo and then put your camera down and just do life, as opposed to take 17 shots, add a filter.
Come on, who does life anymore?
That's called Dyspo. We'll have to look into that.
Dyspo, yeah.
Yeah, from beauty brands no, you can look into that?
Yeah.
Okay. From beauty brands to supermarkets, businesses have been inspired by the good old days. Could we see the return of the Milkman?
Well, so anyone under 35 doesn't even know what that is, of course, the old Milko. But that whole the business model of like delivering stuff that you'd use the product, then return the container or get refilled or reused, we've seen that have a real resurgence. So a program called Loop by a company called TerraCycle have actually partnered up with Woolies recently, so you can get a whole range of grocery products, use a product, return the container, they clean it, and then recycle the container. So much more sustainable. So we're seeing this really catch on in Europe and the US, and now here.
And anyone under 35 who doesn't look like their parents should maybe ask Mum about the Milkman.
Yeah.
Remember they were always super fit because they had to do all the running.
That's exactly it.
To New York City now.
Okay.
No,
it seems like you've really looked at Milkman.
Let's go ahead to New York City now. The latest trend with transport. What's this about?
Yeah, so this is like disruption coming full circle. So Uber are being disrupted right now because they've got enough drivers. So we saw in the last few weeks, Uber have now partnered with New York City cab drivers to allow people to book cab rides in the Uber app, which is something you would never have imagined happening in the past. And this is actually happening. So right now in Latin America, half of all Uber rides are done in cabs, because they've had to partner with them to have the driver access. But also we're seeing this in places like Germany and Austria and Hong Kong. So yeah, no word of it happening in Australia yet, but Uber have realised actually need to tip back into
That's a twist, isn't it?
Cab drivers,
I was speaking to a cabbie through the week and he said we're picking up a lot more business now because Uber's too busy.
That's
People then come back
absolutely.
to or too expensive.
Correct.
With all the surge pricing.
Look at you with your Milkman and your cab drivers. You're a man of the people, Gillies. We reported on this last week. Netflix taking a real big hit in the stock market. Is that going to change the way they do business, you reckon?
Yeah, so a few announcements in the last few days. So they lost like 35% of their share price value in the last week. Like that's massive wipeout. So they've announced they're going to probably look to bring in, get this, a streaming service that's a bit cheaper, but you have to watch commercials as part of your streaming service.
Oh, I'm all for that.
We're going back to the days of TV ad breaks on Netflix.
We knew if we'd stay around, if we stuck around, we'd come back round.
We hung in there.
We're like an old pair of pleated slacks.
Love it.
Hang on to us. We're all for a good commercial.
Yep. Stay with us, folks. Stay with us.
We're so hip. We're happening. We're in yo-yos. We're CDs.
That's it.
Mate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I love it all.
For other future forecasts and trends, take a look at Michael McQueen's book. It is called The New Now.